Welcome to Oceans of Leaves. This is a fate-based campaign. We are going to be doing our first session today. In a second, I'm going to introduce the different characters, or rather, they're going to introduce themselves. But the main draw of this campaign is that this is a world made up of two geographical features: forestless landmasses known as islands, and the Great Wood. The Great Wood is feared the world over, though there do exist some trails through it, such as that between Tilbury and the Gravelline. In our world, this wood replaces oceans. Any vast body of water that can be found in this world is freshwater, and is a lake or a loch. Where we would normally have oceans, the world has forests, stretching far and deep below the sky, home to millions of unknown forms of animals, fae, monsters, and plants. The people of the world, which we refer to as Earth, don't tread there, for to do so would be dangerous for many reasons. One could incur the wrath of an edge witch or a werewolf, or attract the unwanted attention of any number of inquisitive but ultimately harmful fae. The players are children of one of the six main families of a town called Hollyholm, one of the most famous towns in all of Avalon. Hollyholm is a large trading hub on the Hedge Line, the boundary between the mainland and the vast unexplored forest surrounding Avalon. Despite being so close to the boundary of the Great Wood, no harm ever befalls Hollyholm, and as a result the town is able to reap the riches of the forest without imposition, as long as they don't stray too far beyond the tree line. 200 years ago, the six families of Hollyholm and its founding families made a deal with goblin-like man, who they'd captured on the fringe of the woodland, stealing crops from their fields. In return for his freedom, the goblin, calling himself Godon, would protect the town for a radius of 20 miles. The families agreed, and they enjoyed 20 years of peace on the fringe, building up quite a wealth of land and reputation. After 20 years, however, Gordon's kindness ran out, and the town was attacked by wolves the night after night after night. Every morning, after the attacks came, the families would cry out to the forest for Gordon to help them, and after a week of their cries, Gordon returned to Hollyholm. He explained that his magic had a time limit, as he was not as powerful as he would like to be, and in order for him to keep protecting the town, the families would have to make a symbolic gesture of repayment once every 20 years. Gordon suggested a game, one that would ensure the families wouldn't be stuck in this arrangement forever. Every 20 years, each family would send one of their children, old enough to be a squire but not yet old enough to own land, into the depths of the wood to find Mariana's grove. The grove was fabled to contain flowers that bloom the year round. The tea of their petals would provide Godon with enough magic to protect the town forever. The families asked the goblin why that he referred to the trial as a game, and he responded that there are secrets in the wood, and there's a reason it's taken him so long to return. He's going to help them, and he has to help himself too. There's another town he's made a disagreement with. The families were confused. They didn't know of any other town in the whole of Avalon that would dare be built on the boundary of the wood, but Godin simply told them that the other town wasn't in Avalon. They must simply bring the fowl back first. So the families agreed, and every 20 years, to protect their way of life, they each sent a chosen child from their family between the ages of 11 and 18 to venture into the wood, in the hopes of returning with Mariana's lily. Our players, all six of them, will be from each of these families, and I'm going to start with Liam.
Hi, I'm Liam. I will be playing Morgan Plaskett, who is 16, full of hormones and the belief that yes, he can in fact be the wonderful shiny hero who has been prophesied to save us all, because his family have been telling him such since childbirth, because, well, that's kind of how it goes when you're raising them that way. Someone has to save the world, and if it's from his particular family, then that's going to reflect very, very well on them. The only issue comes when your big damn hero isn't quite as perfect as they had hoped to have been. Morgan will be doing their best, but may discover that he's only human after all.
Hi, I'm playing Alec Hawthorne. She's the youngest child of the apothecaries in the village. And, well, the way her family solved the trial and all this business was for the eldest sibling to be trained from birth and be sent out. Unfortunately, they happened to run away only a few days before all this is set to take place. So, Alec finds herself in the unfortunate position that she's the most expendable one. She's a very small, mousy, snarky girl, being sent out on this suicidal venture with very little notice.
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm going to be playing Evelyn Grissom, or Lynn as she prefers to be called. She's the youngest child of a very rich family. Basically, it's been a long life of training for her. She's only 16 years old, but it's all she's ever really known, this expectation that she's going to be the one going into the woods. She has an older brother who's expected to take over the family business as a moneylender. She has a older sister who is pretty much expected to marry into wealth, and that leaves her as the one who, is there to fulfill their family's obligation. And that family obligation means a lot to her. She tends to treat others in a very harsh manner because of the way she's been treated. She tends to, how should I put it? Patronise, yeah. She tends to speak very sternly with others and expect them to fulfill their role without complaining. Basically, she's not the most empathic of characters, shall we say, but maybe that will change.
That's going to be fun to explore. Okay, Sam?
Evening. The name's Sherwin Fletcher. I'm hunter by trade and aspiring Fletcher. Not too great at it, but I'm only 15. I've still got time. My family has been in this since the start, and it's been my dream since I was born to get into the forest, go and get that flower, get things done. Really, as well, I kind of want to learn more about Godan. He's been an interesting figure in my life thus far. Never met the man, but I've heard a lot about him. I'd rather like to meet him. Sherwin's values, as it were, are very social, very family based. Wants to be your friend, basically, if you want to sum it up in a sentence. Just likes being kind. He wants to be kind to nature. He wants to understand nature, which might seem odd as a hunter, but there it is. He hasn't quite learnt what his limits are yet. He is a teenager, after all. He knows that he's good at some things, or at least he thinks he does, and thus far, nothing has gone particularly wrong. I'm sure that will change, and I'm sure he will have a learning experience from these things happening to him.
Excellent. Okay. Adam.
Hi, I'm playing Urian Maddox, the second oldest child of a family of seers. Urian is 15 and is much more likely to be looking at the stars than looking down at his own feet. He is enthusiastic in the venture they're about to partake in. He's known that of his family, he's the one that has been fated to go into the woods. It was discovered that he was the one deemed to have the best chance of succeeding, and so he was the one who has been trained and sought after to take the family's name out into the woods. Because of his family's trade, he's had to learn a lot about people, reading them, trying to figure out what they want to hear, and has learned all about omens and the reading thereof.
Fortune telling and the like.
Yes.
Yes.
Because of the importance of the woods in this world, a lot of it is focused on trees and leaves and the like.
Excellent. Okay, so you're avoiding things like the typical astrology and such because, well, I'm going to presume that's because you don't think you'll be able to see the sky.
Yes, navigation by the stars has a lot less of importance in a world without any seas.
Yeah, no, that's entirely true.
Hi, I'm Tom, and I'll be playing Edward Fenwick. He's from the building sort of family. He's a 13-year-old youth. He's nervous, slight, shy, fidgety, always on edge. Quick on his feet and reasonably intelligent, but he's not built strong or imposing. His cousin Lufric was meant to be going, but he fell off a horse 8 months ago and now can't walk, so it was either Edward or his younger brother Alfred. Edward wasn't letting that happen. So, despite being scared out of his wits, he's volunteered to go.
And finally, I'm David. I'll be your GM for the game. I'm pretty much going to get straight into it, and if that's okay, I'm going to start with a scene. The night before you're gathered into a holding pen, it will be Lynn arriving to find Morgan has beaten her there. Your families have intended you to get there early to show your eagerness and how competent you're going to be. So Lynn, you'll be led through the gates to find Morgan polishing a sword with her father.
So Lynn will walk in. She'll notice who happens to be there first. If they look to her, she will nod curtly, but she won't say anything.
Morgan could not more pointedly be not looking at you. Everywhere is more interesting than Lynn right now.
Looks like I'm walking over to the opposite end of the room.
Okay. As it stands, you and your fathers are the only four people in the holding pen. You were let past some guards in advance. You have food ready. This is literally just to make sure you're here and you don't try and run away the night before. It's sort of like a ritual to make sure that the children who are brought here don't pull Alex's older brother's trick.
I get you.
Yeah. So the air's quite cool. It's early April. It rained a few nights ago. The dew's still heavy in the wood. It's about as early in the year as they can send you out to give you the most time before winter sets in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So the two of you are keeping distance.
Yep. Lynn will just be doing much what Morgan's doing, actually, and just checking every single bit of gear she has.
Any objection from you? Is there a different story going on? Are you going to throw stones, poke fun, nothing like that?
Oh no, it's not so much going to be simply ignoring. It's going to be making the show out of being more prepared. You know, I foresee a lot of going through possessions, checking each individual thing, making were this the modern day setting, we would be cocking our guns respectively. However, in this case, it's, checking your bows drawn, unpacking and repacking all of your food, your rations, counting out everything, making a show that, I remember to bring everything. Did you?
Yeah, Lynn's going to make a point of the fact that her sword is much, much nicer than his.
Your father's going to turn to you. Lynn, don't rise to him. He's from a family of drunkards. You don't need this early in your trip.
Father, I'm sure I don't know what you mean. I'm merely making sure I'm prepared.
Yes, okay. You're prepared, but you're not looking at your gear. You're looking across the room. Sorry, I don't mean to baby you, and I don't want our last moments to be... Well, they're not going to be.
You reckon I'm going to be the fun of the first group to return?
Of course you are. You're the most competent young individual I've ever seen.
What's wrong?
What do you mean?
This is possibly the nicest you've ever been to me. What's wrong?
God, a father wants to wish his daughter some luck before she heads out into that.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you, Evelyn. That's all.
Let's just hope the years of training weren't wasted then.
Morgan, your father's giving you a similar pep talk. All right, lads. You sorted. You got the belt. You got your powder bag.
Absolutely.
Okay. Which eye do you aim with?
The right.
No, it's the left.
But I'm aiming along the bow.
Yeah, but you're right-handed, so you aim along the left to mitigate for... Come on, mate. They're looking a bit uncomfortable, don't you think?
They're looking very uncomfortable. I heard drunkard suitably loudly.
Well, he likes to say it with a bit of a emphasis behind it to make sure that we understand where we stand.
I do believe their family is one of the best customers.
Oh, of course, but they only buy the high shelf stuff, so that makes them,
Fancy drinkers.
civilized. Well, piety only gets you so far.
Mhm.
I can't stay the whole night, but how long do you want me here?
Long enough till someone who isn't Lynn gets here.
Speaking of which, Mr. Fennick,
Yes.
you're guided in by your mother.
Oh,
Little Alfred is also with you, but he's turned away at the last moment. He's not allowed through the gate himself.
it's okay, it's okay.
You gonna be good? You gonna be good?
Yes, of course I am.
You sure you don't want me to go?
No, I can do it,
Oh,
You just, I'll see you when I get back. Just stay out of trouble. Okay, I've got to go inside now.
You're led in by your mother. She is about as quiet and reserved as you are. She's never been very affectionate as a woman, but it's not a cold distance, it's just a muted one. There are 6 cots, each of them have a coverage overhead, because this is where you will be sleeping. Morgan and Lynn who you know both of from seeing around, Lynn more than Morgan,
Mm-hmm.
are on complete opposite ends of the cot line.
Oh, hello everyone. Hello. Okay, fair enough.
Lynn will take a moment to turn away from her dad and Edward.
Evelyn? Morgan?
Yeah, Edward, that was it. How are you holding up?
As well as can be expected.
Excited?
I wouldn't use that phrase myself, no.
I mean, it's a big evening. Big day.
Yes, it is. I'll sit on... this one can be mine, if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah, I don't think they're assigned or anything.
Okay, I'll just sit here.
Lynn is rolling her eyes.
There is a dull rustled thud from the entrance as a large burlap bag is dropped on the floor. It seems to be filled with tools. It's Sherwin and his father, looking a little dishevelled and a little chill, to be honest. Very chill.
Oh, hi guys. Oh, did I? Dad, are we late?
No, we seem to be early.
Oh.
There's 2 cots missing. Who's...
Oh, there's loads of you here.
Hang on, pub owner's made it.
He's an alright lad. There's nothing wrong with him.
Morgan waves enthusiastically. Hey, Sherwin.
Sherwin waves back enthusiastically. Hi, Morgan.
Everyone else is being a little down. They're not nearly as excited as they should be.
But this is the day.
Yeah, exactly. This is the day. This is it.
Tomorrow's the day, but
You've literally been raised your entire life for this. I thought you'd be a bit more calm. This is Sherwin's father speaking. Sherwin's father has a reputation for being not quite normal. He's a hunter who spends a lot of his time on the fringe, on the hedgeline. As a result, he's seen weirder things than most, and doesn't spend a lot of his time around actual people. More skinning things to sell to people.
Anyway, Dad, I'll be back in a moment. Sherwin sort of starts walking around to the others in the hall. Goes up to Edward first. Hi, Edward. How's it going?
As well as can be expected. How are you?
Well, looking forward to it. You?
Well, it'll be starting soon, I suppose.
I hope so. You'll be fine. Trust me. You've got good eyes. You remember what happened.
Yes. I do see things.
Sherwin puts a hand on Edward's shoulder. Thank you for that. I can't say it enough.
No, it's you saved me. If anything, there were 2 of them.
And I only saw 1.
No matter how many of them are out there, as long as we all see 1, and there's less than 6, we'll be fine.
Sherwin sort of steps away a little bit to raise his voice again. Exactly the point. Anyway, Edward, I'll be
Yes, of course.
Pats hand on the shoulder and goes over to Lynn. Evening, Lynn. How's it
Good
going?
evening. I'm not sure. Have we been
Sherwin.
formally introduced? Sherwin. You're the oldest of the Fletchers, aren't you?
Indeed, I am.
Pleasure.
I don't think we've been formally introduced, but we have met.
I apologise, I don't recall.
Sherwin looks a little bit sort of sad at that. Only for a moment before we can regain his composure.
Unless I hear good things about your family's work. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. I look forward to working with you as well, and hopefully we can get to know one another, become friends. You know, friends are good. We need friends. We need teammates. We can't get through this on our own. So.
Quite.
I don't think you did friends, Lynn.
I just happen to choose them a bit more wisely than you do.
Now, guys. We've not even started.
Oh, we started a while ago.
In your arguing, no one has noticed that Alec Hawthorne has arrived. Now, the parents have separated off into their own parent corner. They're discussing whatever grown-ups discuss when they're about to lose their children. I wouldn't know. I'm not mature enough to understand. Alec, however, it has to be said, has arrived alone.
Alec's She's gonna go to the cot that's first away from everybody else. Her eyes are red. She'll turn her back on everybody else. She'll be throwing the occasional flinty look, but doesn't attempt to make conversation. She'll just dump her belongings on a cot and make a show of going through them all.
Probably a good few minutes into the not quite argument between Show and Morgan.
Banter.
And
Pure banter.
Yeah.
Pure banter. No teeth behind it at all. Nope, definitely not.
Well, he's not from 1/3 of the group. Sherwin will just sort of be like glancing around and will spot Alec, and just quietly sidle his way out of being in between the two of Evelyn and Morgan. Hope they don't notice.
They don't. Or at least Lynn doesn't.
Oh, no. Too busy scoring points while parents are still technically in earshot.
And he sort of sidles over toward Alec. Hi, Alec. How you doing?
I'm fine.
Where's your mum?
She flinches. They didn't. They, I came alone.
Oh. Well, if you want a hand, I can always help. And my dad's just over there. He'll be happy to help.
Noted.
Are you ready? You looking forward to tomorrow?
She grits her teeth, doesn't respond for a moment. I'm fine. You just stop, okay?
Okay. Well, I'll be over there. He points to basically just some random other place in the room.
And the awkward silence redescends. Nearing midnight is when Urian Maddox arrives with their mother. The two exchange some short words. The mother leans down and kisses Urian on the forehead and hands Urian something wrapped in cloth, and then turns and leaves. At this, your parents decide it's probably late enough to go as well, and they each make their biddings to you and go.
Urian will probably go straight to the only bunk that hasn't been claimed.
He'll get a wave and a hi, Urian on the way past.
And anyway, that bow's much too tall for you. There's no way you can get there. Oh, hey, Arian. No way you can get the draw on that.
Look, at least I can actually aim the thing.
I would say shots fired, but apparently not.
Yeah, anyway. So, Urian, you at least have got to be excited.
Well, it's... I'm sure it's all going to go fine. I mean, it's all into the unknown. I mean, when you don't know what's going to happen, there's going to be bad and good, isn't there?
Hopefully more good than bad.
Yeah.
Not to mention, this has got to be a big run, right? Lucky number 10? Maybe? That's got to count for something. I mean, it didn't work out so well for them, but they just weren't ready, or it wasn't the right time.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'd say I feel sorry for the 13th group, but hopefully there won't be any more after us. So
Isn't even going to be an 11th.
Yeah.
The lovely silence after that rather reassuring conversation is punctuated by a very loud owl hoot.
Sherwin mumbles something. It's probably what type of owl it was.
Showing it was a very large barn owl from the depth of the sound. Right, I'm going to skip to the next morning. The six of you had, well, it was a night, depending on how well you slept, depending on how confident you're feeling. The next morning, you're woken by the sound of the community gathering to see you off. Now, every 20 years, the guilds come together and they put together this going away festival. Unfortunately, the people who are being sent into the woods don't really get to enjoy much of it. There's food, there's drink, there's partying, and all that to celebrate the champions, the contenders that you're sending into the game. But you yourselves, after, attempt number 3, when one of the contestants ran away instead of actually going to get themselves part of the hog roast, you had to be put in the holding pen. It's become tradition now. However, the gates are swung open and you're greeted by the mayor. Well, we all ready in the morning? We had a nice long sleep?
Sharon stretches as he gets up.
We're about an hour till send off, as far as I'm aware. Gordon hasn't really sent word, so they're not here to collect you yet. Do you understand how this works?
We just go in, get the flower, get out?
Well, I assume you understand how that works. I more meant the morning send off, but if you need to go over the basic rules, we can sort that out for you as well. Essentially, once you step into the forest, you are not allowed to step back out of it until you've got the flower. Now, if you find other islands out there, other clearings, that's fine, but you have to continue finding the flower. You're not allowed back to Hollyholm or the Isle of Avalon until you've recovered it. That's not just like a tacit written rule, that's actually bound into the magic of the thing, as far as we're aware. If you were to come back, the town would, it would be attacked like it was. Other than that, no real rules, as far as I'm aware. I don't know how it works. I've never had to worry. Sorry, poor taste.
Lynn is looking less and less impressed with the mayor. For what it's worth, she was awake when he came in and has probably spent the last half an hour making sure she looks absolutely perfect because she wants to look the part.
Nerd.
Image is important.
Yeah, okay. Now, for geography purposes, if we were doing a real-world equivalent, Hollyholm sits on the south of the River Mersey, so probably around the Wirral area, Cheshire, North Wales, that kind of thing. So to the north, just a couple of 50 to 100 miles away, is Viking territory. To the west is Celt territory, and you're currently in Anglo territory.
Okay.
And that's where you've been raised.
So actually we're not far from Liverpool then?
No, you're pretty much on the other side of the river. But the river itself doesn't go into the sea, it goes into the forest. And it's the traditional starting place for the journey, because it's not actually that thick of a wood, and it gives you a way in that gets you quite deep without interfering.
Okay.
So, Gordon's gonna come and meet you on the edge. As soon as he does, you have to walk in with him. Is there anything we can get you in your last hour?
Sherwin just has a quick look through his extra stuff in his bags one last time. No, I'm ready.
I'd settle for a decent sized breakfast.
Oh, we got that planned. Don't worry about it. I'll be like bacon and eggs.
I mean, who doesn't?
Fair point. Fair
No
point.
one I
I
know.
like you, Plaskett. Your father's been good to me.
Morgan seems to have gained an inch of height, almost.
This is at this point we notice the slight rosy tint on the mayor's nose.
Oh, he's got the biggest beer belly you've ever seen. He's got the capillaries burst all over his face. The guy looks like Santa's shaved.
Could you describe him as ruddy?
Ruddy would be good. Also, a more refined, less hairy Brian Blessed.
You take that back, he's the most refined man there is.
I echo that sentiment.
Ha ha ha! Ruddy good! as he would say. That's a terrible impression of Brian Blessed. Go on, Tom.
If it wasn't going to break me mic, I would. I've set my sound settings now.
We'll take you to the dining area. Your family will be there with you, and you've got about an hour until Gordon arrives. We're all good? Jolly good. Alec, come on, wake up. He kicks your cot.
Alec will just rise. She wasn't asleep. Just lying down.
And he turns around and walks his portly, rotund, rich body out of there. Definitely not a peasant. Now, Hollyholm is technically neutral land. While it's part of the Anglo-Saxon, I think it's Wessex. While that's the case, there are visitors from all over. Like you will have Vikings here, you will have Celts, you'll have people from all the towns all over the place, because it's a big trading hub, and this is a celebration of another 20 years of trading, if that makes sense. Hollyholm has access to resources that nowhere else can find because of its access to the woods. So the area's packed with kinds of the type of people you've never actually seen before as well. Some have come from far and wide. You've got Normans, you've got Britons, one or two like non-British Vikings, like the kind that would come from Norway. You can tell by the pattern of their fabrics. You've even got a couple of Scots from the kilts and the tartan patterns. And you're led through these crowds, and there's not a single gap in them. Like if you wanted to do a run, you couldn't really. They form a corridor to a bunch of tables where the feast is served. Each of you has a respective table with your family, each in your family's colours, because your families are the reason that this town has prospered so much. You're celebrated. And you all sit down for a meal. A maid comes out and starts pouring milk and ale. Anyone over the age of 15 is allowed to drink from the ale. Who would that be?
Most of us.
Looking
not
at our
me.
cheat sheet, that would be
Everyone except Alec and Edward.
the two
Right,
youngest.
Alec and Edward aren't allowed to drink. Okay. Let me guess. Edward's 13, Alec's 14?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, Sherwin, Urian, you're both about to raise your glasses to your lips for the first time. Finally relaxed that your family's around. The two of you being the most perceptive are the first to notice that Godan has now arrived 5 minutes into this feast.
Oh no.
He is walking out of the woods. Now, I want to stress for the nerds out there, this is Godan, not Gul'dan. He's not purple, he's green.
Don't make the mistake I made.
He is about 4'9", so about Edward's height. He's obviously strong, but he's also obviously old. He's got the kind of muscles on him that have aged. They're wrinkled, they're sunken. His skin is pitted and scarred from a lot of fights, a lot of battles. He's wearing a simple leather tabard, a simple leather tunic, not much else. It's practical wear, none of the fancy get up that everyone else seems to have around you. It's not a celebration for him. He's quite somber. And you haven't even really had chance to dig into much other than a couple of crusts of bread. But he's waving you over.
Do we have a some sort of a burlap sack to hand?
You have your own sacks of food. Your own sacks of thing that you keep your inventory in. Bags. That's what you call them.
Cool. I will. Me being me, I will probably have at least one spare. I will really quickly. I'll spot him, and then just quickly open it up and just shovel as much stuff into it as possible, as much food as I can get, as quick as I can get.
So, are you being discriminate about this?
No, literally just whatever's close to me, as quick as I can.
So you're aware that means you're going to get a load of eggs as well, like runny eggs and stuff like that. But you've made your bed, you're going to lie in it, quite literally. There's a lot of cheers of laughter and encouragement from the crowd, specifically. Like, they've seen what's going on, but your reaction is like, they get it.
Yeah.
They're proud of it.
Sherwin?
Go down here. We've got to move. Quick, just get food in.
Stab, 3 rashers of bacon in the mouth.
At this point, Sharon will notice he's been shoveling a lot of eggs, and then stop and just go for the meat and the bread. There's a slight look of, damn, I messed up, on his face.
Edward, you're about to put the first sausage into your mouth, and your mother snatches the fork away and puts it down and gets you up again.
Yes? I guess it's time then.
Right, is anyone resisting?
Sharon will be trying to hang on to keep until if the bag's not full, he'll be wanting to try and get as much.
From the sounds of it, no one yet has been the one to volunteer to rush off into the unknown. So obviously, Morgan will.
Yeah, I'm
pick
going to
up
compel that
the
from
nearest
you,
plate of
Yeah.
meat because we can pack it later. Just take the plate.
What's your high concept again?
Why, I'm the pushed big damn hero.
Yeah, that
So
has
I'm
to
going
be
to
you.
slice
You
that
save
plate
the
and
sausages.
walk off.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay. There's a little bit of a protest from the mayor, but you ignore it. Who cares if that's a nice silver plate that you're taking with you?
What's he gonna do? Chastise me?
Follow
Oh
you.
no!
Okay. So Morgan's ran off, Lynn.
Yeah, once she's finished her mouthful, she's getting up next, dabbing her, mouth clean, and striding over to him. She's not rushing. She knows what she's up to. She knows what's going on. It's fine.
Gordon is silent and stern. He has a rather sharp complexion. It's the kind that you'd get if you spent a lot of your life scowling. So Liam,
can I ask a little question about the culture? Would it be a curtsy? Would it be a bow?
he's a goblin, so
Yes, but she's going
probably-
to greet him like a lord.
No, yeah, that's what I mean. Pay respect. You definitely have to pay respect because he's part of the Fae.
Yeah.
And goblins are the only members of the Fae that humans have ever actually knowingly interacted with outside of the woods.
Okay.
So they come with that respect as if you are meeting diplomats.
Okay. In which case, she'll curtsy.
He'll nod back, like a short, sharp.
Alec wouldn't have made any motions to eat the table. She would have just sullenly stood up and just made her way over.
Okay. When three of you have arrived, he will start turning and just silently walk back towards the woods.
Where are the other three?
They need to get a move on.
Well, I'll be taking a deep, deep breath and standing up and following.
Urine will grab a whole bunch of bread and follow.
Which, seeing as he is now the last one who has not left, grab one last plate of salmon, probably meat, maybe
A couple
bread.
of Vikings are proper going for it, getting really excited about you going for all this food.
I've probably got at least half the table by now.
Take the table, lad!
Just turns and grins at them. Is there, on that topic actually, is there any sort of cloth over this table?
No.
Oh, okay.
Grab a silver
was-
plate with an entire chicken on it.
Grab that. Grab the nearest bottle of something as well in the other hand. So sack under one arm, and then nearest bottle of whatever. It literally doesn't matter to him. Pick it up in the other hand, and jog after.
Right.
To try and catch up with the others.
Gordon starts striding into the woods. Now, this will follow the geography of sea level, if that makes sense, of the sea floor. So the woods are actually on a downward slope for pretty much most of this game. If I describe otherwise, it's because you're on a plateau or something along those lines.
Okay.
However, he's not going straight down. He's going alongside. He's following the hedge line, if that makes sense. He's heading towards the riverbank, which is going to start flowing downhill. It becomes a lot more white water after the forest line, because of course it's going down. He hasn't said a word to any of you, and you're expected to follow. He leads you just about 5-10 metres into the wood line so the people aren't in the way. No one dares go anywhere near the trees. It's almost ingrained into them. And quietly he walks.
And quietly we follow, I imagine.
As we are following, I will sort of move my way between people of the group and silently sort of nudge the bag to them, as if to say, "Go on, take a bit of something to eat."
Did
Then-
you, Sean? Did you actually remember you're going to need hands to eat that?
I don't need to eat just yet.
All right. Well, I can't talk the most, but at least we're going to be. It's still kind of a feast, right, everyone?
And anyway, there you go. Hold this. He passes you the bottle of whatever it was. There you go. Now I have a hand free.
Perfect.
Takes something out of the bag and starts eating.
Come on, guys. We're not marching off to our deaths here. We're on our way to a grand adventure. We're heroes.
This is the first time you hear Gordon make a sound. It's a small, short chuckle under his breath.
Sherwin pretends he didn't hear that.
I don't know if any of the others who came before us asked you this, but are you able to give us advice?
Every single one who's come before you has asked me that. You are just like your ancestors. It's something rather charming about the human race. I can give you advice. I can talk you through what you need. But as soon as we reach the Whitewater Cliff of the Mersey, I'll be leaving you.
How far away is that?
About 20 miles.
Oh, okay.
A day's walk. It takes longer to walk through woodland than it does on the clear. You little clearlings will learn that soon enough.
I've been through a bit of the wood, just not as deep as like we're going, but
We are allowed on the outskirts.
yeah.
The White Cliff is it's the first test. It's the first moment you'll really feel out of your depth. I'm sure you have questions, feel free to ask them.
Can you give us, when we're there, when we're as far as we can go, can you give us a place to go, like a direction to the lily?
The Lily is west, as far west as you can get. Now, I would recommend that before you go as deep into the forest as you can, you make your way to one of the islands west of here. Now, you either have the Isle of Man to the northwest, or directly in the way of your path is the greater land of Ireland itself. Now, the people there, they're wary of outsiders, but that's to be expected. To get there, you'll have to cross a lot of treacherous land, but after that point, the forest gets deep, incredibly deep. It is your last human civilization stop-off point before you truly enter the land of the Fae. It will take about 4 or 5 days of walking to reach it.
What does the flower look like? The lily.
I don't know. I've never seen it.
Oh. Do you think we'll know when we see it?
I can't imagine it'll be hard to miss if you do.
Right.
Some of the most beautiful flowers are some of the smallest. Sorry, just...
But some of the smallest things have the biggest impact. So...
Yes, but I'm more worried about not seeing it.
How long have the other groups survived? Do you even know?
Everyone dies eventually.
So what, a few days?
The shortest I've known someone to survive on this trip? Whitecliff. I cannot speak for the longest.
Well, I'm sure they just made a pretty big mistake.
Yeah, they did. He was one of yours. Plaskett.
With ever so slightly.
I don't suppose you can tell us what his mistake was.
I mean, I could. Whether it would give you confidence or not is a different question.
Knowledge is power.
He didn't pay his toll.
Oh.
He didn't. He thought he could avoid the rules of the forest.
What is the toll?
Depends on who's asking.
Ah.
The forest itself has many different rules. Depending on where you are, things change.
So it's important to understand how things work before you start trying to...
You need to learn about your environment if you are to survive. It's not about luck or skill. It's about respect and understanding.
Sherwin is nodding enthusiastically.
We've entertained foreign visitors, different customs. Must be something like that. Understand their way of thinking.
Deeper into the wood, beyond Ireland, that's where you get your first fae civilizations. But before then, you're mostly going to be dealing with wild encounters.
You mean like wolves?
Wolves are the least of it. If you get far enough, you'll see things you've never even heard of. Things that you don't have a name for. Things that I don't have a name for.
If you don't mind me asking, Mr. Godan, where are you from? Roughly.
North. Far north of here. Beyond the land of ice and flame.
Oh. What's it like? North? Is it cold? I've heard it's cold.
Very.
I don't like the cold.
And the flame?
Great mountains that rise up out of the ground and spew fire and molten rock.
Oh, okay.
Does that bother you? You are the smallest, I can understand that.
No.
Why are you the one that was nominated for your family?
There's only
You
two.
don't seem entirely capable.
I'm not entirely sure that I am, but there's only two of us.
That seems like poor planning.
You're going to be fine, Edward. Really. And besides, can't be any mountains that make fire where we're going, or the woods would be on fire.
You'd be surprised.
Sherwin was about to agree with Morgan before Godan spoke. He abruptly shuts his mouth.
I'm imagining that like jovial, and then suddenly it shuts and all light goes from his face. Yeah.
Like trees that don't burn. What is this?
There's a concept down here that you're going to need to get used to, more so than magic. And that's that things can move up and down as well as back and forth. Clearlings like you have never had to be mindful of what's above or below you. But deeper in the forest there are multiple canopies, there are multiple layers. Multiple things to worry about. The deeper you go, the darker it is, and the fact that you have a floor beneath you eliminates any kind of problem from down there. But if you stay high, where it's lighter and easier to breathe, you also have to be mindful of all your corners.
Can't things come from the floor as well?
In certain locations, but if you get deep enough, then the ground stops being quite so soft.
Okay.
The trees do not. I try not to tread there.
So do you think it would be possible to go across the forest on the treetops? If we
Potentially, but you risk yourself massively. You're exposed.
Yeah. And we could fall, and it'd be a very long way.
That too. The canopy is mostly interlaced at that level, but that's only deep in. The only things that can survive up there are the insects, things like butterflies, spiders,
Birds?
very
Birds there.
large birds,
Oh.
and other things. He looks out wistfully across the Mersey. It is becoming quite rapid at this point. You are scrambling down rock. He's slowed down. He's not walking anymore. He is making a downward climb. If you look out across the canopy in front of you, you can see that the trees sort of even out, which suggests there is a floor to this. It's just quite a steep descent at first. which matches the stories you've been told about the deep forest. Can I have a climb check from everybody?
So, physique.
Yes, a physique would work. Okay, if you'd like to petition something else
Athletics,
or invoke
please.
an aspect.
Athletics, please.
Yep,
Yeah,
I'll allow
yes,
that.
please.
Alright, so for the listeners at home, if you don't know how fate works, people make a fate check. It's 4 fate dice, which can range from -1 to +1. It's always 4 dice, and if they have a skill, their modifier to their result can be between +1 to +4. People skilled in athletics, such as Matt, for example, had +3 to their roll. Now, so for example, the average fate roll will have a total between -1 and +1, and the modifier will often save you. I'll, in my head or sometimes openly, set a challenge rating to allow people to know what exactly they have to meet. Now, our results are quite interesting. We have Sherwin rolling a 2. We have Edward Fenwick being small, live, nimble, rolling a 4. Morgan Plaskett being confident as hell, rolling a 4 as well. Alec Hawthorne, slightly perturbed, having a 1. Urian and Lynn, however, Matt, I'm very sorry. How did you roll a -3 on the fate? That's on your first roll. I hope it's not indicative of. Okay, so
Okay, the
that's
dice
a
bot
total
hates
of
me.
0.
This has been established.
The dice bot hates you. Yeah, no, that's fine. It will make for some interesting moments.
I'd just like to take a moment to introduce to you lovely ladies and gents the final member of our team, HDBot. HDBot will not be appearing in this film, but is an
They are the
essential
dice
member
bot
of the
we
team.
use on our Discord server, and they are particularly programmed to punish players.
They hate us.
Can confirm I wrote it.
He wrote it with hate in his heart.
While mostly HDBot is a fair and just god, it has a cruel sense of irony at times.
Such as giving
Okay.
one of the people with the highest modifiers the worst overall roll. Thanks, HD bot. Love ya.
Okay. Urian and Lynn. The two of you stumble and slip. Now, unfortunately, you're quite close to the river as this happens. So, I would like a second athletics or physique check from the two of you to catch yourself before you fall in.
Just while they're rolling that, did I get to basically just tie up my sack and stick it on the bag?
Yeah,
on
we'll
the back?
say that. In fact, I could invoke a negative on you for having that sack, but I won't.
Better.
Okay. Lynn, you do manage to catch yourself on a rock outcrop. You're quite quick in that respect, and because you're young and your body's light, it's not hard to hold your own weight. Urian, you fall in the river.
Yeah.
Yay!
Friend,
Right.
please.
The river's at about a -30-degree angle, which for anyone who understands water physics at all, Jesus, that's steep. Okay, you're swept away almost immediately. However, because the water is so steep, it's also shallow. You don't go under, you're just struggling to catch yourself. Now, I'm going to allow anyone to position for a reaction before Urian gets swept downstream.
Well, someone needs to desperately save him. Will anyone else help me in this potentially deadly endeavour?
Yes, I will be doing.
Cool, two's enough. Cheers, guys.
Such confidence in our abilities.
I'm carrying the food. Right?
There's other food. Right, Urian.
Yes.
Um,
There's probably
you've-
much flailing on the way down.
Well, you've not quite gone down yet. Let's consider ourselves in a time freeze while Liam tries to petition for what he's going to do to save you. I'm going to allow this, by the way, because of your major feature, which, as you'll remind everyone, is...
Yes, my main relevant aspect here is my high concept of Big Damn Hero. So, he's stumbling toward the river. It's pretty blatant that he's just on a nice, slow slide, completely incapable of preventing this. It's also really obvious when someone's falling down a slope. And if you are in a decent position, you can probably get down it faster than they can. The issue then becomes crossing the horizontal distance before he's swept away. And so we engage in the wonderfully safe and sensible plan of running down a hill towards a river.
Right. Okay. Is this going to be another athletics roll?
I desperately hope so.
Okay. Is that what you'd like?
That is what I would like, yes.
I can't think of anything else that fits it, so feel free to roll it. And also, you have an invocation of your feature.
Terrific. That's 2.
Tom.
Yes.
Tom, you said you were helping?
I also did, but we spoke at the same time.
Well,
Uh,
I'll go first.
Yeah.
I would suggest, Lynn, you can't help. Your role is trying to get yourself back up.
Fair enough.
If that's okay. Yeah. So 2. Would you like to add 2 to it or re-roll?
I would like to, if we're invoking, I'd just like to add the flat 2, please.
Okay.
For a
So
total
that's
of 4.
a 4, which is a very high roll. I'm going to suggest... Now, Big Damn Hero suggests that you're not a clever damn hero.
Oh,
Can I
goodness
be right
no.
on that? Okay. So, he's in. There's no saving Urian from getting wet at this point. Urian's in, and he's quite a far way away from the border. So, obviously you need to reach out and grab him. So, you can disagree with me if you want, but I'm going to suggest you dive in and hook your ankle around a branch to make sure that you don't fall with him. So your arms are grabbing him and your feet are keeping you attached.
That sounds agreeable to me.
Okay? By the way, throughout all of this, Godin's just watching. No emotion on his face, doesn't seem to care, just watching it happen. Edward.
Yes, well, I'm not a big damn hero, but I'm slightly smarter than that, and I also have some rope in my bag because, of course, I do.
Excellent. Would you like to... I'll allow survival?
I'm hoping I can convince you to let me have parkour on this.
Parkour.
Yeah. To get myself into a position where I can throw rope over a tree branch and then down so they can grab onto that and I don't get pulled in by virtue of being
As
a
far
lot
as
smaller.
I was aware, there is no parkour skill. There's rapport.
He's,
It's a stunt.
I believe,
Stunt.
invoking a stunt.
+2
Oh,
to
right,
athletics
so-
rolls in a chase. It's meant to be over treetops, so I understand if you shoot it down.
He's holding himself up on a branch. I'll give it you. Okay,
Yeah.
so athletics +2 to whatever your athletics is.
+2 again, so yep, so that's the rule of that. 8 +4. Bot.
So with a +4 on your fate, your total was 1.
Yeah.
It suggests that
It
was,
suggests
-3.
I'm spending that old fate point. I'd like to invoke You're Not As Useless As You Think, which seems like it might crop up a bit to spend the fate point,
Okay, I'll allow that.
just to re-roll that.
It makes more sense to re-roll it.
Yeah, the -3, it's a re-roll. HD bot, I hate you.
It's decent enough. So Tom has just used his stunt and burnt a fate point to save Morgan and Urian. The rope, Morgan, is thrown right in front of you. It's a nice arcing shot, and he's even used an end of it that has a knot tied to it, so it's heavier and loops. It's very easy for you to both grab Urian and the rope.
Urian is probably clinging onto Morgan for dear life.
You are currently face first underwater, and he's got your ankle, but you are slowly being dragged back out. This is a very long, shallow, I would say waterfall, but it's more like a water slide. And it is the River Mersey, so it's a lot of water. It stretches for about 150, 200 metres wide. If you were pulled into the middle of that, there was no saving you. You were going where that river was going. And after a tense couple of minutes, and Lynn, once you've pulled yourself back up and you've brushed yourself off, everyone is on the bank. Panting, slightly wet for some of you. Others, like, Edward, who weren't stupid and dove in. You're fine. Godan is still standing there, still looking unimpressed.
Woo!
Please don't do that.
I like how we'll go straight to Urian.
Are you injured?
I'm just
Have
a
you got
little
water
wet.
in your lungs? How?
I think
He's fine. He's absolutely fine. We're all fine.
You're rather flippant about the fact that one of your party nearly just died before Whitecliff, setting a new record.
That's not the record we're going to be setting.
We have to remain a little light-hearted, don't we? See the funny side of things, learn, move on.
Of course.
How warm was it today? You said it was a little bit chilly.
Yeah, it's April, early April, so still got it's spring, but it's got the remnants of winter in the wind.
Well, it's a good thing we're walking, eh?
I might suggest you change. You're no good to us if you freeze to death.
Inner layers, at least.
Are you ready?
We're missing something. Where's the thank you?
Oh, sorry. Thanks. I'd offer you some of my bread, but it's sort of just squishy paste.
Oh, that's fine. I'm pretty sure Sherwin did manage to get enough bread for everybody.
Yeah.
And all passing birds.
As if
Showing nods.
prompted, Sherwin holds out a lump of the bread soaked with yolk.
That's only the bits at the bottom. Fortunately.
Does mean we'll have to adjust our rationing.
Well, this stuff's not going to last forever anyway, so we should probably eat it fairly quick.
Yes, but we've
Don't
just
you
had
have
one
enough-
bag's worth of food just got potentially ruined. We need to readjust our rationing.
Don't you have an apotheker amongst you? Can't they forage for food?
Plus we have rations in our bags. Don't we? Or am I the only one?
Well, one less set now.
One less set, which is my point.
We
Lynn
weren't-
is right. It is important to have an idea of exactly how far we can get without the need to forage. Not because we don't want to, but because we might have to.
Thank you.
You two are the most placable members of your family I've met.
Thank you.
I've never known a Plaskett and a Grissom to get along so well.
We don't. But there's a lot of expectations sitting on us back home, so...
I will say, in the instances where one of the group has killed another member, it's often been between the two of.
Well, that won't be happening here.
Just-
Implying that's happened more than once.
Wide open jaw. It's kind of a smile. It could be a smile.
Yes, that has happened more than once, Urian.
I don't want him dead.
Maybe not for now. The forest does strange things to people. People specifically. Come, we have a long way to go before nightfall. And nightfall is where I will leave you. Gordon starts marching down the hill as he comes.
Follow as he goes.
Left foot, right foot.
Aye, cracking. Right, the
Feet
day
on the
is
way.
long. After about another hour and a half down the hillside, I say hillside, the short side, whatever you're going to call it, the ground starts to plateau again. And something strange happens to the river. It keeps going down. You see, the area around where it lands on the plateau, it has a bit of a delta, but then the ground, the rocks around it are pockmarked with holes, and it falls into the earth as if there's an underground system. The area around you now is mostly swampy. The river does not continue beyond this delta. It takes you about 4 hours to cross that swamp, and Godin stops you about 3.5 hours into it to talk to you. You have another hour's walk ahead of you, but beyond that point is the White Cliff. I would suggest you sleep here rather than expose yourselves to it.
Showing nods.
Is this the last time we should expect to see you?
So this time you should expect to see me. I may pop in from time to time to see how you're doing, bring you news. I can't intervene, I can't help. It's not in the spirit of the game. Besides, your competitors are setting off tomorrow morning. I need to go see them.
Where are our competitors from? Who are they?
They're west. They are far, far west. Further west than any person your side of the Great Wood has ever known.
There are lands beyond.
Far beyond.
What are they called? Do they have a name?
Your land is Hollyholm, Avalon, correct?
Yes.
Well, I can't give you many details, it would be unfair, but they'll know of you, so you'll know of them. They are the Algonquin.
Algonquin?
Algonquin. Out of character, I really hope I'm pronouncing that right, because this is genuine real world people. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we're trusting you to remember that, Urian. You got a solid memory, right?
Decent. Decent enough.
Is there anything else you need of me?
Can I ask one question, actually? The river back there,
Mm-hmm.
when it went into the ground, where does it go?
Down. There are caverns and twisted systems far below the earth that go on for miles in the dark. Shutway is too tight for a person to squeeze through, but
Yeah.
the soil gets saturated and eventually it comes back up elsewhere.
So if we could find a way in there, we could use them to move around?
You would drown.
Oh. I won't bother trying then.
Wouldn't recommend it.
Does anything live in there, though, that could get out?
I don't know. I've never been stupid enough to try.
Oh. Point taken.
Occasionally I do see salmon swimming back up. It's not just that river that happens to. It's pretty much every one of them. Except for one, but you'll probably never encounter it.
Sorry,
Again.
I'm really curious now. But
Far west.
Okay.
I'll leave some mysteries for you to discover. And with that, he turns around, and I'm gonna explain this explicitly. Like, take me literally when I say this. He walks into a tree.
Oh, like a Jabberwocky or Woppleting or something.
Not a Jabberwocky.
I don't know why I went to Jabberwocky, like a Woppletinga.
No,
I mean-
a Wolpertinger?
Yeah.
Are you sure that's the one you mean? Jackalope.
Jackal. I must have blanked it in my head for reasons not known to this podcast.
Right, okay. Adam, you were about to ask a question. Was it in character? Interrupting? Before Gordon left?
Yeah. You've walked all this way with us. Do you want some food before you go? I mean, we've not seen you eat today, and you've walked as much as the rest of us.
He simply smirks. Like, it's the first time you've seen any actual emotion on his face. I've always been fond of the Maddoxes. Thank you for your generosity. I don't need it.
Okay.
He turns and walks into the bark. He quite literally fades into the tree. He doesn't come out the other end. You are left alone. The same owl you heard last night hoots a second time. And suddenly, the darkness around you feels thick and oppressive. You are young, and you are alone in the woods.